session underway. I also assume you guys are writing probably Monday morning, 8 o'clock, but if different, you can just let me know in the chat. Okay. Okay. Yes, one of those early ones. Good luck. Okay, so let's start with a few of the linear equations, and then we go into, you can see I've got a few others, so we'll duplicate the slides just to make it bigger, so that we just at least look at a few things. I think we've covered differentiation and integrals a lot the last 2 or 3 sessions, but nearly just to get back to some of the traditional demand and supply, cost, revenues, profits, those kind of functions. Somewhere in, I think we've got a consumer surplus one as well. So just a bit of looking at a few of the first few chapters. Okay, so let's look at this question. So we looking at bargain furniture store, pays 300 for a chair, then they pay 240 for a small side table, a recent shipment of 22 units, cost to store at least 6,180. This is the information. If the information is written in a system of equations, it will be represented by. Okay, so let's look at a few things. So we've got chairs, we've got tables. So the first thing, know that when we create chairs and tables, all of them will be 0 or bigger than 1. So that is the first thing I will look at, is just to check if any of those formulas is different. Normally not. That is normally a standard one that they add, but who knows? There might be one that in the exam one can cancel out, but all of them are correct because you can create 0 chairs, 0 tables, or more. Okay, then the next one that we look at is they pay 300 Rand per chair, and 240 per table, and this they say those 22 units cost the store at least. Okay, so now we need to remember what at least again mean. So at least is the minimum that it will cost. So it can't cost less, but it can cost more than 6,180. So we basically have a formula of 300C plus 240T bigger or equal to 6,180. Okay, so let's look at this component. Smaller. So smaller would have been in these words at most. At most. Okay, so there's the one we're looking for. at most, at most, at most. So all the other three are wrong. Okay, so we basically have identified what we're looking for, but also let's just make 100% sure. The last component, the number of chairs and number of tables is equal to 22 units. Okay, so here they didn't say more than 22. They didn't say less than 22. They said it is equal to 22 units. So if we look at that one was right, that one was right, but then 3 is the correct option because it has all 3 of them as correct. Okay, so again, with a question like this, break it up a bit for yourself. You could also have started with the C and T to say, well, there's 22 units, so C plus T must be equal to 22. So then from the start, you could have said, okay, there's only those two that are relevant. And then basically, if we choose between those two, the next one is to choose between at least or at most. Okay. So that was a system of equations that you needed to write out of a word problem that was given. So something like this question, you will get a question like that in the exam. So it's not even debatable. You will get a question like this. The same with this question, you will get a question like this. Okay, so let's see what they give us here. So they say in the graph, and let's see if I can just crop it a bit. But there's a few things that we might just a bit bigger, not really that much bigger, but at least a bit bigger. So in this graph, they give us the inequalities. And then they say, okay, the set of inequalities were drawn, and the feasible region of inequalities is that graded area. Determine the maximum value of the function. Okay, so basically maximum value of a function is going to be at any of those 4 intersections of green. So wherever one of those, you basically need to put those x and y points into this equation and see which one is the maximum. Okay, just it might work out that the maximum is 150, but don't be fooled by the number 150 that is the biggest, that it must now be the maximum. So just be careful with that one. It's not because 150 is the biggest that it will suddenly be the maximum number. Okay, so let's put in a few numbers. So this point A we know that the x is 0, the y is 4, because that is that cutoff. So that is point A. So let's see, x0, y4. So 4 times 30 would be 120. Okay, so already we know 70 is not going to be an answer for us, because 120 is already bigger than 70. Okay, then the other easy one to do is D, because there we have x is 20, y is 0. So I just want to put in here 120. So if we look at D, 2 times 20 is 40. That would be 0. Okay, so 40 is not even on that list. So definitely not number D. Okay, so now maybe it is this point. If I just look at it, so roughly it is y is 1 and x is 2. So if it is now 1.1, 1.2, doesn't really matter, because that will not make those numbers jump so much. So just by looking at it, so if x is 2, it's 20, 40. If y is 1, it's 50, so it is 40 plus 50, which was actually 70. So that was point C. So let's not do that. Let's just say it's not 1. Okay, so that was C, which gives us 70. So at the moment, point A is still for us the best point. But let's look at this point B. Okay, so we know that point B, there will be 4 y's. So that will already give us 120. If we look at where point B is situated, it can't be more than 1x. So 1x would have given it 20, so that we would have had 140. It seems like more a half. So a half times 20 is actually 10. So 10 plus 120 will give us 450. Okay, so again, we don't need to be going out and now work out that intersection, because you can see the answers that they give us is big enough gaps to say, well, that is 1. So the maximum here would have been the 140. So it is definitely less than 140. It's more than the 120. So that's why it is the 150. They will not give you a number of 120, 125, 150, 135, 136, or something like this in one of these cases, because they actually just want you to look at the graph. They give you all the information so that you can nearly just make the estimates where it's going to be. Otherwise, again, you guys know, if you need to now work this out, and that will take you quite some time. if you now needed to work out, okay, what is that exact point by looking at those two graphs, or looking at that point by looking at those two graphs, it will make it that your timing then for the other subjects is just, or sorry, not other subjects, other questions is just so much shorter. Okay, I just want to, there's 3 questions, just want to duplicate that we can have a question on a okay, so let's look at, and this was from, I think, a 2016 or 2017 or 2018 exam paper. Suppose the cost of manufacturing 10 units of a product is 40 Rand, and the cost of manufacturing 20 units is 70 Rand. If a cost C is linear related to output Q units, the cost of producing 35 units is. Okay, so basically what they want us to do is to say 10 units cost 40, 20 units cost 70, and you will need to work out what does 35 units cost. Okay, so, and they tell us it's linear, so you can see as 10 grows to 20, 40 goes up to 70. So if you look at these answers, 15 will not be an answer because 35 units will be growing in price. So you can't have now suddenly that 35 units will cost you 15 Rand. 35 units will probably cost less than 140, but more than 100 or something like that. So what we will need to work out is actually our linear equation. And that we can do because we actually can work out the slope, because the slope is the change in y over the change in x, and we have that. So we have the 70 minus the 40, and we have the 20 minus the 10. Okay, so we have the slope as 50 divided by 10. So 50 divided by 10 is 3. So we have 3x plus c. Okay, so if we have put in 35 now, we will get an answer that is 35 times 5, sorry, 35 times 3, 105, which is not there. But why it's also not there is we don't know what the value of C is yet. Okay, so we first need to put in any one of those two points. So any one will work, 10 and 40 or 20 and 70, so that we at least can work out the full straight line equation, so that we have the C as well. So I will put in 10 and 40. So y is 40, x is 10. That is how we work out c. So 40, 3 times 10 goes over, so 40 minus 30 is equal to 10, which is equal to c. So now we have our formula of y is equal to 3x plus 10. And then if we put in x is equal to 35, y is equal to 3 times 35 plus 10, which is equal to 115. Okay, so the way they normally ask this question is they would normally ask this question to you guys as you've got points 10 and 40 and 20 and 70, and then they will say write out the formula or write out the regression equation. So this is being asked a bit differently, where you guys would have seen a lot in your assignments and things like that, where they all give you this and say work out the slope. Not always in this nearly word sum format. So just be on the lookout for these things on Monday as well, that you don't get caught out, because this is basically, they want you to use a linear equation to work out what that linear equation is, so that you can get to that 35 items that must be produced to see what the price is. Okay, so let's go to the next one, which is a set of questions. So once again, not always sure if this is still the way that they will do it, because again, they can't really always work with your, if you made a mistake, work with that mistake. So, but let's look at the question. So demand and cost functions of a commodity are given. So here we've got the demand, here we got cost. Okay, so what we normally work with is supply and demand, and cost and revenue. And so that's normally how we would get questions, is they will normally give us a cost and revenue. We need to work out profit. They will say you've got a demand with a supply, and then you need to work out something. So this is quite interesting. They give us a demand function, they give us a cost function. Then they tell us with a price and Q of a price and quantity respectively. Work out the total revenue function in terms of price. Okay, so what would you guys have done in this instance? So total revenue is equal to total Oh, sorry, only revenue. So total revenue is price times Q. Perfect. Total revenue, price times Q. Okay, so and we have Q. So even if I use different wordings and things like that, look at just that formula, price times Q, and then you see, huh, that demand function that I normally use for the supply and demand, I can actually use it in my quantity, my Q, to work out total revenue. Okay, so, and that's why I think some of these questions is good that we go through it today. Just if I throw in some of this somewhere in a paper on Monday. And now it's actually, if you know that component, then it is actually not too bad to work it out, because now it is our traditional algebra. P times 6,000 is 6,000 P. P times that, it still stays minus a minus 50 P to a power of 2. And then we'll do the calculation now. I just want to make sure. Let me see, where is the link to our WhatsApp group, so that if anybody is still not on the WhatsApp group, that you please join the WhatsApp group, and because I will post the recordings, I will post today's recording, so there's the link to a WhatsApp group again, Jess. So click on it, you will be taken to the WhatsApp group. So today I will post the presentation, the recording. I will post the link to my YouTube channel, and then my scanner didn't work, so I am going to take 5 pictures of notes that I think it's 5. Yeah, 5 pictures of notes that I have created, and I will just put that on the WhatsApp group as well. Unfortunately, technology worked against me this week. Okay, so let's look at the answer. 600p. That's interesting. That's quite weird. That's the same answer. That's 6000p minus 50p to the power of 2. P times, okay, this is actually very strange. Those two are exactly the same. Oh, but see, those two are also the same. So somehow in this, huh? Am I missing something here? There's not that That's total revenue. One and two is, 1 and 4 is also the same. Okay, so this is maybe in this exam there was a, a sign with it to say that maybe a derivative or something like that that did not come out in the print. But those two are both is correct. But again, you see there was a duplication of option 1 and 4 as well. So let's just see. Okay, so it doesn't seem like there's duplication in the next question. Okay, yeah, so that is definitely a weird one in question 2, where both of them are correct. So again, if you see something like this in the exam, afterwards, just write it down on a piece of paper, and just afterwards, you just let me know and say, question 2 seems weird. Um, just check in with the lecturer, then I will do that. Okay, profit function. So profit is total revenue minus total cost. So this again is where I don't like these questions that follow on one another, because if you had question 2 wrong, automatically question 3 is wrong. So total revenue we now set was 6,000p minus 30p to the power of 2. Just remember, we're going to subtract. So remember, just I always do it in brackets first, so that when we get to working it out, I don't make a mistake with my signs. So the cost function is 5,000 plus 2q. Mm-hmm. Okay, so looking at that, what do we need to do before we can work out the total cost? So this is not just a quick subtraction of, so also good to write it down like this. But now in that we will need to replace the q with the q of 6,000 minus 30p. So you could do it, you could have worked it out, then replace it with the q at the end, or you could do it like I now do. So there is a few options available for you how to do it, because in the end you would have in any case seen, okay, there's a q, there isn't a q in my answer, I will need to replace the q. So what does become very important now is this negative. So I'm always scared of that. So I'm first going to work out what is in here and then going to multiply it with a negative. So 2 times 6 is 12, so this will be 12,000. 2 times minus 50 is minus 60b. Okay, now we can use that negative, so it's still 6,000p minus 50p, and you could probably cut out one or two of the workings if you want to. I just like to make sure. So 5,000 plus 12,000, so that's minus 17,000, and then minus times a minus is plus 60. So if I look at this, my constant will be minus 17,000, minus, not plus. Okay, so there's a minus 17. So we're down to two options. There's the p to a power of 2 on its own, so minus 50, so that's cool. And then 6,000 plus 60 will give us 660p. So there you can see if you minus, you will get that one. If you add like you should, you will get option 3. Okay, so just look at that one. So if you did say it's minus 60, you would have had an option to go by as well. So yes, I've now probably taken one or two steps too many, but again, I know I make mistakes when I sometimes skip the signs. If that was a positive sign, then it's different. Then I would go straight into that. But when there is negative signs, I'm always worried that I will miss something. So that's just again me that does that. Um, what we also now see, there's a question 4 based on this. So again, it is a bit unfair because um, in the, when it was paper based, they would have your workings as well, and they would have worked with your workings to give you other points extra. So now they ask, at what price is revenue at the maximum? Okay, so to work that out, we needed to have this formula. Okay, so let's just rewrite this formula. So our total revenue is equal to minus 50p to the power of 2 plus 660p minus 17,000. And so that is how the original one looked. So what now? How will we work out what is that revenue at the maximum? What do you think? What must we do? Okay, so when you see maximum or if you see minimum, that's the two words to look out for. We differentiate. Okay, so maximum and minimum, we differentiate. And because they don't tell us what is the minimum and maximum at a certain price, like was said in the chat, we set it equal to 0. Okay, so differentiate total revenue. Well, sorry, this is not, it's already actually profit. So let's just make sure. So that goes in front, minus 60p. That nearly disappears, so it will become plus 660. That will fall away. That is equal to 0. So minus 60p is equal to minus 6060. So p is equal to 660 divided by 60. Oh my word, 101. Is this now where this comes into play? Okay, so that is also not part of your answer sets anymore, none of the above. Yoch, because I would have wanted to go for the 100. Let's just see if 2 goes to there, that is 60, that is p, that is 660, it's equal to 0, 60p is equal to minus 60p, that goes to the other side, it is 6060. 6060 divided by 60 is 101. Okay, so that seems again like one of those that again would have really frustrated me in the exam if I needed to complete this, because I would have wanted to say 100 and not none of the above. So yeah, quite frustrating. Sure. Okay, so luckily you guys don't have, or what I've picked up, none of the above anymore in your answers. And especially not something like this, where this was the things that I hated about the none of the above, is where you work it out and you get it by 1, and now you think that you make a mistake somewhere. And probably if this was, you would go back and back and back up until, so yeah, just not one of those that I like anymore. So hopefully what I've picked up is that they have taken away those things of none of the above and things like that. Okay, let's look at a few other questions. Let's duplicate so that we can just see it better. So this question 5 is a bit more looking at some of the things at the back of your study guide. The company manufactures bicycle pumps. Each pump sells for 50 Rand. I normally would just say 50x. Ooh, okay, wait. That is actually revenue. You're right. Revenue. It wasn't profit. At what price is revenue? Thank you very much for that. And I actually originally said total revenue. Thank you. And I actually first said total revenue, but when I went to write for other, then hopefully it works out. So it's 6,000 e minus, what was it, 30 p to the power of 2. So if you take that, it is going to work out. Thank you very much. That's awesome, because then that will become 60p is equal to that. Then minus 60p is minus 6,000. P is 100. Sit with option 1. Thank you. So please don't do the mistake I did, because we worked with, and in my head, I was doing total revenue. Great. I did total profit. Great. And I just, even though I wrote down, if you guys can remember total revenue, I wrote down the profit function, because in my mind, I was working from revenue, profit. So please don't be caught out like I was now in the exam, where I just basically assumed we're doing the profit function. So thank you for that. So please, and you can see I didn't, so what I highlighted here was the maximum to differentiate, but the critical thing was actually revenue. And where we went total revenue, but I went from revenue to profit. So awesome. Thank you very much for that one. So please make the mistake now with me and not make the mistake in the exam. Cool. A company manufactures bicycle pumps. Each pump sells for 50 Rand. And the variable cost of producing each unit is 9% of the selling price. Okay, so this is your total revenue is 50 times X. Variable cost, and just see if I am doing this right. Variable cost of producing each unit is 9% of a selling price. The 9% times the 50 Rand And then to get how many the variable cost in total will be is how much we multiplied by X. Your monthly fixed cost is equal to 50,000. Now important what the monthly fixed cost. So what is the break-even point for the company? So break-even is where total revenue is equal to total cost. Total cost is variable cost plus fixed cost. So we've got total revenue of 50x. So 9% times 50 is 4 rand 50 for every unit plus the fixed cost of 50,000. Okay, so that will go over to that side. So 50 minus 4.5 is 45.5x is equal to 50,000. So 50,000 divided by 45.5 is, now I'm going to round it. First, not round it off. I want to see what they said. So round it off to the nearest integer, 1099. Okay, so now with this one, you will now not suddenly get a 1098 until 1100 until 1099 because of rounding off. Okay, so you can see there's a clear one that is the 1099, and then the other units are not now suddenly a 1098 and a 1100 because of rounding offs. Okay, because that is just, again, not gonna happen. But yeah, this one was, they give you all the information, but again, step for step, nearly to write out what you need to do. I think that is again the important one in this instance. Okay, so let's look at the next one. And so employees at a certain company prefer buying hamburgers at their cafeteria. There is usually a demand for 100 hamburgers when the price is 25. It is known that for each 1 rand increase in price, demand decreases by 1 hamburger. Determine the demand function with quantity demanded Q as a function of price P. Okay, that is quite an interesting one. Okay, so there's normally, so I'm just writing a few things down. 100 hamburgers when the price is 25. it is known that for each R1 increase in price, demand decreases by 1. Determine the demand function with quantity Q as the function of price. Okay, so how many hamburgers? Hmm. Just quickly want to say, okay, so we not need to write it in that function. So let's see. I'm wondering about that. So as price goes up, that goes down. But does that go down in the right? So if that's 26 minus 25, so that does not feel like the right one, because your quantity, if it's 25, 25 minus 25 is 0, 0 times 100 is 0. Determine the demand function. Okay, so it's not saying with the increase or decrease, so we need to get to the. So what would you guys have done in this exam? This does give you nearly a bit of a clue. I actually feel that none of them is what I would have gone for. This is quite an interesting one. I am actually going to use a bit of, let's use a bit of AI on this one and see if we can get to the answer. Because that is my answer, none of the above. Um, so let's see if I can quickly type this in. And that's, I think, also why they're probably sometimes going to take away some of our online access and things like that for the exam. So I love these things. Employees at a certain company prefer. So I would have, as I'm typing, I would have probably had it um, as price goes up, Q goes down. So I would write that nearly as a change in the pricing will affect the change in Q. So I probably would have said um, something in that line of 25 plus something, or 25 plus a X times a P or something like that. It is known that I think you guys have access to Copilot in a lot of the other apps. So Copilot can also assist a lot of these things if you are struggling with a question and need some guidance. Yes, so that is what I would have would have done, is to write down a demand function first. So while that is running, let's quickly see. So what would your demand function have been? Oh, okay. Okay. So am I doing it quite different? Okay, this, yes, that is the right way according to, so let me, that was so weird now. So this, it just shows you the different ways that way. I did not think about that. So you're making it a slope. Um, I did not think about that, but if you now, like you said, if you use it as a slope, then you have the slope of the function, so you actually have the points that you can work with. Um, so it just shows you. I'm gonna copy this in for you guys. So I will share it. I did not think about going to slope at all in this one. Um, so when I'll share the presentation with you, here it is, every step is below. Yo, I did not think about slope at all. Flip. And it is, so where was that other one was easy to, this one was easy to see the slope for me. This one was, and it, with what I'm writing down here, you're actually writing down points of a slope, but I was so stuck in the price and quantity formulas. So let me just bring that piece up again. Let's see if we can just make this bigger. That we can quickly read through it. Okay, so we need to determine, so when the price is 25, the quantity is 100. So that already gives you one of the points, which again, I've written that down, but I did not realize that we're actually working with a slope question. For each R1 increase, the other one goes down. So that in effect actually is giving us the slope. So as the one increases, so we could have gone here and said, again, what your comment around the slope, we've got the 1 point, we've got the other point. So we would have said 100 minus 99 is 1. 25 minus that is minus 1. So our slope would have been minus 1. So slope is minus 1. And then because we now have a slope, we actually know what m is. We've got those 2 points, so we can then actually work out and simplify to a formula. And it is in the formula of a demand, where there is a price and then, okay, this one totally missed it, that, and even, so I will share, you can see here in the bottom, all the steps, and that was so totally missed that. That is actually enough information to work out a slope. And then with that slope, you still have the original first points. You want to write it in a Q and P, so that is just your other 2 points. So that, I think, is going to be your final answer in the end. Okay, went totally blank on that one in regards of looking at from a slope perspective. So thank you for that. So you ready to write the exam? I'm not ready to write the exam. Yeah, so great identifying that. Use the slope. You've got the 2 points, or you've got that point that you can work with, and then you can solve the equation. Awesome stuff. Okay, so this was now also interesting for me, how they throw the questions around nearly, because as you see, we did that we went into a slope, then we went into revenue, we needed to do differentiation. Then we did a bit of total cost, fixed cost, variable cost, and from there, using the demand functions, so that you again need to work out basically a straight line. And you can look at it as a straight line, as y and x. I totally just blanked out on that one. Okay, so now this one actually now becomes a bit easier because we've now done a few straight lines. So now they're asking us for this. Work out what are the coordinates of a point of intersection of these two lines. Okay, so they want just, and I'm just doing this. I don't have the faintest idea what the 2 points is going to be yet, but that is what they want us to work out. Okay, so, but now we can see we're working here a bit with different things. So this one you can solve two ways. So the traditional way is to say 3x is equal to 45 minus 7x. So we make it that it is a straight line. So that means y is equal to 45 divided by 3 minus 7 over 3x. And that is our first formula. Then we say, okay, but we need to do it with a second one. So there it was 5y is then equal to 70 minus 10x. So then we need to make it y. So 70 divided by 5 and 10 divided by 5. So that is 2x. So that is your second formula. And then we will say, okay, there's the 1y, there's the other y. So 45 over 3 minus 7 over 3, lots of fractions, is equal to 70 over 5 minus 2x. And we solve for x. Okay, so that's the one way. That's nearly the traditional way when we see two straight lines and we want to get to it. But let's do another way. And there's a reason why we did simultaneous equations, because this we can do as a simultaneous equation where it might be a bit simpler to do certain things. So let's just see if my two formulas are right. 7x plus 3y is that. 10x plus 5y is that. So I want to get rid of the x or the y. So I can do it by multiply by 10 at the bottom, multiply by 7, so that it's then 70 and 70. That for me is two big numbers. So I will take the first one, multiply by 5. I sit with 35x plus 15y. And 45 times 5 is 225. Then the second equation, multiply by 3. So now we've got 50x plus 15y is equal to 210. And now this equation, let's say equation 1, equation 2, I subtract the 2. So 35 minus 50 is 5x. 15y minus 15y is 0. 225 minus 210 is 15. So x is 3. So I look at it. No, 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 x3. Okay, but then you can also say, okay, I want y, so I will put x3 back into that equation. So 3 times 3 is 9. 9 goes over to that side. So 45 minus 9 is 36. 36 divided by 7 should give us the answer, which it is not. Whoa. Let's just now quickly check. That's again, I am totally making mistakes today. Sure, blank, blank, blank. X is free. 7 times 21, or 7 times 3 is 21. 21 goes over. 45 minus 21 is 24. 24 divided by 3 is 8. You can see my brain is totally fried after this week. Please don't make these mistakes that I'm making today in your exam. X3, Y 8. Option 4 is the correct one. If you've done it now like I did, you put it into the wrong one, you might now want to say none of the above. But yeah, please don't. This is just silly mistakes at the moment that I'm making. So the 3 needs to go into the X. We can even test it in the second one. The 3 goes in there. It's 30. 70 minus 30 gives you 40. 40 divided by the 5 also will give you y is equal to 8. Okay, so this process for me is much simpler. Oh, so the only reason I used 5 and 3 was because I saw if I multiply the 3y with 5, I get 15, and if I multiply the 5y with 3, I also get 15, so that I can subtract those two. So that was to get the y values the same, so that I can subtract that. The same I could have done to say the top one I multiply by 10, the bottom or the second one I multiply by 7, because then the x's would have been at the top 70, and the x with the second one would have been 70. So you could do that as well. So I'm always looking, when it's the simultaneous equations, what I can multiply with, so that I can nearly get rid of one of the variables. So in this instance, to multiply by 5 or 3 felt for me easier than to multiply by 10 and 7. But you could have done the 10 and 7 as well, when your x's would have been disappearing, and your first answer would just have been y is equal to 8. Cool. Okay, so that was question 7. So let's just duplicate this one so that we can press 1, 2, 3, 4. So, and let's get to the first one. Okay. Okay, so that was basically, now we are going into a simultaneous equation. So we used the same method at the top that we now nearly want to do here. This is so weird one. Okay, so let me just okay, so what I would have done with this one is to say I would have taken my second one and I would have said I'm gonna subtract the first equation from that. Just check if I'm now, this feels not too easy, but it feels like there might be a catch in this. So let's just check. X plus y minus z equal to 3. 2x plus y minus z equal to 4. So if I subtract this from that, so it's 2x minus x, which is x. Y minus y is 0. Minus z minus minus z, so that becomes plus z. So minus z plus z is 0. 4 minus 3 is 1. So x is 1. And they want the sum of the three values. That is fine. Then I would have said, let's look at equation 2 and 3. And we will just add the 2. So equation 2 plus equation 3. So let's just see, that is 2x plus y minus z is equal to 4. 2x plus 2y plus z is equal to 12. So if I add the 2x plus 2x is 4x. Y plus 2y is 3y. Minus z plus z falls away. 4 plus 12 is 16. I know the value of 1. So that, or the value of x, that is 1. So plus 4 on the left hand goes to the right hand. It becomes minus 4. The 3y is equal to 12. Y is equal to 4. Okay, so I already now have a x equal to 1, a y equal to 4, and now we need to get to z. But that's fine. We can use even that first formula. x is 1, y is 4. So 1 plus 5 minus z is equal to 3. So 1 plus 4 minus z is equal to 3. So 5 minus z is equal to 3. So the 5 goes over, so we've got minus z is equal to minus 2. So z is equal to 2. Okay, and they've asked us the sum. So 2 plus 4 plus 1 is equal to 7. Okay, so yeah, you can also, some of your calculators can do this. You can also use, when you want to test it and see if you're doing the right thing, you can also use the linear equation calculator that I love to use. So if you wanted to just check it, and I will share this link again in both the presentation and in, so if you ever want to make sure you've done it correctly, you can just put it in here. You can see I have not tested this one yet because then it would have probably have come up as one of the ones that I have done already. 2x plus 2y plus z equal to 12. So remember, don't think you guys are allowed to use it in the exam, but you are allowed to while you are testing it and working out. So there you have seen also solutions 1, 4, and 2. So if you added it together, you would have gotten 7. But again, it's just nice to see all the steps of how they also got to it. So if ever you need to use a linear calculator, please, this is quite a nice one that I really love. What happened here now? Okay, don't worry, I will just copy the link. So it is in the chat, and yeah, it is also in the presentation. Just to check if you want to use that when you do other ones, you can just always check your answer. Okay, so let's see. Now we're doing a few of the simplification ones that, again, remember part of that appendix that they don't always nearly talk about. So in that back end of your study guide, the things that they assume you do know. So we don't need to do all of these. So what we are going to do is, let me just do a crop of this one. I want to get to this one. So for the guys that don't have all the necessary calculators, like I also don't, there is a different way of doing that. Okay, so let's quickly check for this one. So what I normally would do is first look at my numbers. So there's a 2 to the power of 2 at the top. There's nothing there. There's a 2 to the power of 4. Okay, so that and that we've taken care of. So let's write that out. So before we even go to any of the others, 2 to the power of 2 is 4. 2 to the power of 4. I'm not even going to try and work it out. Use the calculator. That's 16. So 4 goes into 4 once. 4 goes into 16, 4. So our final answer would look something like that. That is how our final answer will look, just by looking at the orange components. And I'm going to do the other ones with other colors. So let's see. There's a 2, not a 4. There's a 4, so that can be. There's a 4, can be. There's no 4. Okay, so already we have taken out 2 of the possible options with this one. Okay, so let's do the A's. So A to the power of 2, that is A4. Just doing the A's now. A to the power of 3 at the bottom. A4 to the power of 4, so it is A times 4, so it is A12. Okay, so let's just make again sure it was A2, so 2 times 2 gives me the 4. That's a A1. 1 times 3 gives me the A3. Here's the A3 to the power of 4, so 3 times 4 gives me 12. Okay, so at the top I have A7, at the bottom A12, so 12 minus 7, so I've got 5 more at the bottom. So for now I am going to write it at the bottom. So let's see any of these answers. Okay, cool. There's A5, but we already know that's wrong. There's A5, so that starts to feel better. Okay, there's no A5 there, just a B. So that also tells me it's wrong. There was a A5, but not the orange. Okay, so let's now go to the B's. So the B component, B3 to the power of 2, so it's B6. B4 to the power of 3, that is B12. So at the top, we already have B18. Then at the bottom, B2 to the power of 4, so that is B8. B8, so 18 minus 8, so we actually have a positive B10 at the top. So again, let's do a bit of a different color. So just make again sure B3 to 2 is 3 times 2, that's 6. B4, so 4 times 3 is 12. 6 plus 12 is 18. 2 times 4 is 8, so that stays 8. But 18 minus 8 is positive 10 at the top. So let's see. That was correct. But where it was wrong is the orange component. That is correct. So that means on orange, purple, and blue, that was correct. That was on blue, also incorrect. So, and here it was correct on blue, correct on purple, but not correct on orange. Okay, so our answer that we're looking for is option 2. So again, I think I probably took too long on this one, but I just wanted to show you guys now this is because this is definitely something that will be in your exam. They love to throw in one of these types of simplifications. And again, work it out nearly step by step. So you guys could have seen, I love the constants first. That made it that we only needed to look at 2. Then when we did that, I actually already had the answer that I was looking for, but I did the third one just so that we can make 100% sure. Okay, logs. Okay, so the first thing about logs, log and ln is exactly the same thing. Okay, so exactly the same thing. So on some calculators, you've got log. On other calculators, you've got ln. Some of your calculators, you can actually put in this to say log 3, 12,34. I've got the HP, I can't. So mine does not work like that. But there is a solution to that in any case. So how we would do that, log 3, 12,34, how we can work it out is to say log or ln 12.34 divided by log or ln of 3. Okay, so that would work out that top part. So if we have that answer, then we just divide by the ln of 3,4. Okay, so let's work it out. The guys that have the nice calculator where you can put in log 3, 12,34, tell me if my answer and yours is the same of 12.34 ln divided by 3 ln, which is, so I get at the top 2,2873. So please let me know if you do that on your calculator, if you're getting the same thing. And then we're going to divide by 12.34 ln, which is 2.5128 to get an answer of 0.9102. And so it will just be, for me, good to know the guys that have that thing built into their calculators if you actually get the same as what we now got. And if you don't have that fancy calculator that does that, this will give you exactly the same. So when you just split it out, you handle it just as two separate things. So first work out log or ln 12,34 divided by log of 3. So that is then working out what you needed to do here. So that will be what you do. And then your next step, work out what is ln of 12,34. That ln of 12,34 is that answer. And then if you divide the two, you will get 0,9102. Okay, they do like to ask these log questions as well. So that's nearly from that appendix component. Nearly be sure there will be something that you need to simplify and somehow that you need to work out something to do with log. Okay, so it might be just that top component that you need to work out. It might be log 2(6) over log 4(7) or something like that. Then you treat it, again, if you don't have a cool calculator, you treat it as log 6 over log 2 for the top one. So that one covers that. Then you divide it by log 7 over log 4. So then you treat those two, and that will then be, again, a problem that you can solve. So again, you don't need to have that one that can put in the fractions and those kind of things. You can solve it without that. Okay, cool. Let's look at the last two. And again, I specifically included a bit of this because of the price and quantities and things that one sometimes read wrong or get wrong or assume things. Okay, so let's quickly. Demand and supply. Okay, cool. Demand and supply, we understand. They give us the demand, they give us supply. When they say the demand and supply functions are given, and you determine the equilibrium price and quantity of the product. Okay, so what does equilibrium price mean? What will we need to do? What's that formula to work out what equilibrium price will be? So what must be equal to what for us to solve that? Okay, so equilibrium price, perfect. Demand, supply must be equal to one another. Okay, so let's do that. We see a Q2, so I'm starting to worry, why is there only one Q? But let's check it out, why it is like that. Okay, so let's keep the Q to this side. That goes over, so minus 3 becomes plus 3. So we've got plus 5Q. 29 goes over to this side, so that becomes minus. So that's minus 24. Okay, so we're going to have Q and Q. Because that's minus, one must be minus, one must be plus. I need to get to 5. So if I look at factors, to get to 24 is a 8 and a 3. I just want to make sure 8 times 3 is 24. That times that gives me minus 8. Okay, so that needs to be plus. That needs to be minus. So that's plus 8. Minus 3 is plus 5. Okay, so to get to this, Q plus 8 is going to be 0, or Q minus 3 is going to be 0. So Q is going to be minus 8, or Q is going to be 3. Okay, so let's look. Q is 3, correct. We can't produce negative products. Okay, so you can't have minus 8 chairs that you produce. So you can't have negative quantity because you can't produce negative. So we know that Q3 is for 1. You can see here is for Q8. If we've made it a negative there and a positive, we would have gotten to Q8. There is a Q5 if you just said 5Q is Q is equal to 5. Okay, so now you can use any one of those formulas to say if Q is free, what is the price? This one is for me the easiest. So the price is equal to 29 minus 3 times Q, which is 3 times 3. 29 minus 9 is equal to 20. So we know the price is 20, quantity is free. If it was that this is also positive, then they would give you rather the 2 points to say 20 and 3 and whatever. I'm now going to make up something, and 8. Okay, so then they would give you the price and quantity as 2 points if there was a second one. They're not then only going to give you one of the options. They will give you it as 2 points and say these are the 2 points where it is in equilibrium. Okay, so, and it can be that there can sometimes be 2 points. So if you get this is a quadratic, so it can be that at that point and at that point there is an equilibrium. It doesn't always need to be negative at 2 points. It all depends on where and how that graph lies on your x and y axis. Okay, let's go into the last one. So again, for me, what is to see this flow of questions, because again, it is not study unit 1 2 or 3 questions, then study unit 2, 2 or 3 questions. So they do mix it up. So we here had specifically demand and supply. Now they go into and say, okay, a demand function of a product is this. P is equal to 58 minus 0.4 Q, where P and Q is of a price and quantity respectively. Calculate the consumer surplus for the demand function when price is equal to 10. Okay, consumer surplus, bit different and now just Sandelin. So that's why I thought we'll end up off with the nice one. So I just want to, I'm just drawing, and let's hope this is what it should be. So that is normally the consumer surplus component. Then if you look at consumer surplus, I want to quickly put in consumer surplus graph for you guys. So just that, and because I'll show you now why I did that, and again where they might want to sometimes catch you out. So here we can see that's price, that's quantity. So where Q is equal to 0, the price will be 58. So that is 58. They want us to work out at that market price of 10. So to work out this area, we will use a bit of maths, where it is a half times base times height. Okay, so we can see the height will be the difference between 58 and 10, because that is the 58 and 10. The half is half, but we will need to work out that base. Okay, so we will need to work out what is Q when P is equal to 0. Okay, so that's a nice one. We have a formula. So where P is 0, 58 minus 0.4 Q. So we'll take that over. So minus becomes positive. 0.4 Q is equal to 58. So Q is equal to 58 divided by 0.4, which is 145. So that point of Q where it was 145 Q and 10. So we can say the base is 145. So 58 minus 10 is the height. So it's 48. 48 times 145 is 6960. times 0.5 is 3480, which is option 4. Be very careful with a question like that, because demand function, we know that is the demand function. What they sometimes do is they write it in a different format. So I've seen it before that instead of writing it as price is equal to, they could have done this. And I know I've seen this in a previous question somewhere, and it first thrown me, because you are in this process, you know a demand function, you know this is price, you know this is quantity, you see this, and then your first instinct is, okay, but hang on, what is this now? Is this Q? Is that P? Oh, so Q, that must be 58. And then you just, so please, this one is nearly one of those where if it is P is equal to, by all means, perfect, that is how the demand function should look like. But just be careful if I write it in the form of this, that you first rewrite it as the traditional demand function, where it is P is equal to, um, so that one just doesn't make mistakes. Because I know I've seen it once in this form, and then you nearly start plotting it on a graph, because that's normally what I like to do, and then things just did not work out, and it was just because I read it wrong. I thought it's your traditional demand function, um, and then you make a bit of wrong assumptions. Okay, so that is it, guys. So really good luck for Monday morning. The chat group will be open on WhatsApp till Monday morning. So please, if there is things that you're not 100% sure, ask tomorrow. There's no problem. Even that it's a Sunday, I know you guys are stressed. Um, so please do ask questions tomorrow still. If you want to just sort out one or two things, ask it. Um, Students on the group, please, you can answer it. Don't need to wait for me. Then just a type of recommendation, because I know how it feels to write exams. Try at least tonight to get a good night's sleep in. Um, Tomorrow evening, one is gonna think about the exam. It's gonna go. So at least tonight, try to get as much sleep in as possible, so that if you don't sleep well on Sunday night, that you at least had a good night rest tonight. Then I will share the slides on the WhatsApp group. I will share the present or the presentation. I will share the recording. I will again share my YouTube channel, that you guys can go back and look at previous things. There's nearly I think 2 years of slides, and then I am going to send you a few pics of notes that I made, which unfortunately I couldn't scan, but it's 5 things that I will immediately now, as I download and do things, I will take the pics of those 5 things and send to you guys as well, so that if you want to use it, you can make notes on it as well and things like that. So I'm going to do that now as well. Okay, guys. So good luck. Put in that last bit of effort for the last stretch, but yeah, really good luck. Please, if there's anything still today and tomorrow that